again.
Yeah.
Tonight, the Duke Blue Devils once again have a chance to stake their claim as the nation's #1 team. Wake Forest matches up very well against this Duke team. In fact, they won in Cameron Indoor just last year.
Not so fast. Randolph Childress, one of the country's premier backcourt players and the ACC's leading three-point shooter, may have something to say about the result of tonight's game. For the Duke Blue Devils, Grant Hill is their leading scorer, last year's National Defensive Player of the Year, and he certainly has earned the respect of the fans here at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Away from tip-off at Cameron Indoor. Duke 69-3 there, but one of those losses, as Tim mentioned, to Wake Forest last year. Welcome to the studio. Chris Fowler along with Digger Phelps. The Duke students saying we're #1 after Carolina's loss. Wait a minute, though. They got to win this game and then at Virginia Saturday.
Virginia's 4-0 Saturday at Virginia. And I'll tell you something. Virginia's playing very, very well with that win over Clemson. This is not an easy week for Duke. Nobody wants to be #1 this year.
That's the way it looks so far. But Wake, no pushover with Childress. That game coming up in just a couple of minutes. Reminder, we'll have scores and highlights at halftime. UMass and West Virginia, a big ball game, as well as the latest on a potential boycott by the Black Coaches Association. And game number 2 tonight, a great one from the Pac-10 from the McHale Center. It is Cal, ranked number 19th. The Bears have won 7 in a row against Arizona. The Wildcats come in ranked number 6. They've also won 4 straight. But up next, it's back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Tim Brando and Dan Bonner have the call. Grant Hill and Duke against Wake Forest. We'll see you back here at halftime.
ESPN's exclusive coverage of NCAA basketball is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
Venerable Cameron Indoor Stadium, the site. We are live from Durham. Tim Brando along with Dan Bonner. Time to take a look at our starting lineups for tonight's game. For the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, Trelawney Owens is one to watch, Dan. A real stabilizing force in the middle.
Tim, Trelawney Owens is one of the most consistent front court performers in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Those are his overall numbers. He's been over 20 points 5 times. He's a guy who has to have a big game.
For the Blue Devils, the swing player that has truly stepped up in a key season has been Antonio Lang.
Antonio Lang's only missed 25 shots from the field all season long. Might be slowed by an ankle injury he suffered against Brown.
Mike Krzyzewski surrounded by his team. There have been a few distractions around college basketball, and he is one of the real spokesmen for the coaching fraternity. And as you might expect, a lot on his mind, not relative to this game, and just staying focused as the head coach of the Blue Devils is something he's been concentrating on. And we'll be touching on that issue, that, of course, the proposed or possible boycott by the Black Coaches Association. Right now, they've got #1 on their minds here at Cameron. And the Demon Deacons, as we mentioned, are a team that Mike Krzyzewski's very concerned with because of matchups along the perimeter for Davey Odom's team.
Dave Odom's squad comes in here full of confidence. They're small, but they play a 3-guard lineup. They shoot the ball very well. He feels like they can defend the Duke Blue Devils. His team comes in here very confident. And that's one of the reasons why right there, Randolph Childress,
ACC's leading scorer for the Demon Deacons. Well worth watching as this one gets underway, and the toss is controlled to Wake Forest.
And immediately Grant Hill matches up against Childress in the man-to-man defense by the Duke Blue Devils.
Owens drives baseline. Parks got caught coming in, but apparently Antonio Lang with the hand check will get the call.
It used to be a cardinal sin in basketball, Tim, to ever give up the baseline, and that time Antonio Lang gave up the baseline, but it looked to me like he was expecting help from the baseline side. It never came. We showed you Grant Hill. Not only is he Duke's leading scorer, but he'll have his hands full with Randolph Childress this evening.
Scoring by season. He's picked it up from his freshman year to his senior year. That's the way you'd like to see it if you're a coach. Trelawney Owens has done so many things for this team. In the beginning, he tended to be more perimeter simply because of Rodney Rogers' presence. Now he's staying inside a bit more for this Demon Deacon team.
Veteran player understands his role.
There's the look inside to Parks. Not there. Lang keeps it alive. Parks again. On the floor, last touched by Cherokee. It'll be controlled to Wake Forest. A veteran officiating crew, Lenny Wirtz, John Moreau, and Larry Rose working tonight's game.
You know, Marty Clark in the lineup. This is the first game he started, Tim, since the third game of the basketball season. He started the game against Xavier, hasn't started a game since.
He's a bit taller, Dan, and Pete Cadet, the noted assistant of Mike Krzyzewski, told me he felt that perhaps his size would help in checking Blucas, who also is an outstanding shooter along that perimeter. And here's Blucas getting away from Clark. And that'll be a player control foul against Wake Forest. It'll be going the other way.
You mentioned Blucas' shooting ability. Maybe he ought to stay out there and shoot the ball. We talked about this matchup. Here's Grant Hill. Randolph Childress expected the screen from Trelawney Owens, but picked up his dribble. Blucas got loose. If he stops and shoots that jumper, maybe he's got a good opportunity.
Hill's penetration leaves Lang free. Cleared by Childress.
You saw Blucas matched up against Grant Hill. That's the way Wake Forest is going to attack.
That first step that Childress has is so quick, and it brings about the foul against Grant Hill. He explodes with that first step.
This is the first step off the dribble. Hill's getting into defensive position, and right there, Childress shifts into another gear. Hill gets called for the foul, and that's the risk for Grant Hill. Duke's leading scorer risks foul trouble against a player like Childress.
A steal by Clark. Well, a defensive move, I'd say so, by the Duke coaching staff as Clark gets the steal and the deuce.
For as long as I can remember, Tim, one of the keys to defeating the Duke Blue Devils has been to not turn the ball over and allow transition baskets.
Owens, this is a matchup advantage for Wake once they get Antonio Lang on Owens' hip. And it's 3-2 Demon Deacons.
Owens had a lot of time to make that move. Duke's got to come down and make him give up the ball.
Collins, a runner. 4-3 Duke. Not quite 2 minutes deep from Cameron Indoor Stadium. First of 2 on ESPN tonight. We're happy you joined us.
You know, Hill out on Childress wants to take away that three-point opportunity.
Duncan, who's been a surprise, comes high and finds Owens down low. A little high-low post action, and Trelawney Owens has all 5 of Wake Forest points.
Wake Forest doing a great job clearing completely out for Trelawney Owens. Lang has no help down inside. Man-to-man for the Deacons.
Hill off the dribble. Childress again claims it, and Marty Clark ties him up. The arrow to Duke.
Clark's really been a factor early in the ball game.
A designated defensive starter, and it's actually ironic. The criticism of Marty's game has been his defense not living up to Duke's standards as an individual while playing the team concept of Krzyzewski's defense. Cherokee Parks just inside the arc for 2.
Now that may put an element of doubt in young freshman Tim Duncan's mind, but you've got to give Cherokee Parks that shot.
Parks has played big in big games for Duke this year. Owens, oh, nice give and go with Duncan there. That was a smooth move as he made that explosive step in the lane.
That's a very patient move by Trelawney Owens to give Duncan a chance to clear the screen and then make the pass.
Collins, good duck under before the shot, but it wouldn't fall.
Good block out by Duncan, and Wake's very conscious of that. They're trying very hard to keep Duke off the backboards.
again, attracting the attention and leaving an open Duncan. Harrison rejected by Parks. Numbers for Lang in college. Lang rejected and a foul. It all starts with the defense.
Duke's defense has created a lot of their offense for a number of years. The defensive play here by Cherokee Parks. Duncan doesn't really step to the basket strong enough. Harrison can't see him. And here's Antonio Lang handling the ball on the press. And then Lang actually gets to the basket and gets the foul. Watch as Cherokee Parks comes to this ball. Duncan stands, doesn't really give Harrison a chance to throw the ball. And Antonio Lang picks up the ball, takes it down the court, gets the pass back, draws the foul. And gets the proper reward.
He came in with such great expectations out of LaFleur High in Mobile, Alabama, but now in his senior year, when Duke really needs the help, he has stepped up his level of play, moving from complimentary to a starring role in certain games.
King in the basketball game as Duncan has taken a seat. Good ball movement.
Childress. Fought for, last touched. Lenny Wirtz spots a foul. 15:44 remaining. Antonio Duke has the 1-point lead over Wake just underway from Cameron Indoor Stadium, and Trelawney Owens has 5 of the Demon Deacons 7.
Trelawney Owens, look at him right here, isolated, nobody over there to help. Lang does a nice job turning Owens toward the help, but Owens has so long to set up that play that he's able to make the quick spin move. Duke's got to get more defense down to Owens and make him give up the ball quicker.
From the floor, in the first 8 games, he was shooting just under 50, but in the last 5, he has scorched the nets upwards of 65%. And he's joined in the lineup as we come back to action by Stan King, the 7-foot senior from New York.
Out of the timeout, Duke goes to the zone. They're going to try to trap in the corner if they can.
King flashes to the low post, but turns it over. He took steps.
King is a young man who really hasn't played all that many minutes this year, less than 5 minutes per game. He's only participated in 8 of the 13 previous games for the Deacons. He's in there because Duncan just can't go the whole way against Duke.
Parks off the front iron.
And that's what King needs to do. You get your big guy in the game, he can certainly block out. Nice job. Duke back to the man-to-man. Childress hadn't had a shot yet. And a foul inside on King, trying to post up against Antonio Lang.
Coming up later tonight, college basketball action continues tonight. The little premium playmaker from the Pac-10, Jason Kidd, leading the nation in assists on display against Lute Olson's Arizona team. That's tonight at 9:30, 6:30 Pacific time. Boy, what an outstanding backcourt Arizona has. Khalid Reeves and Damon Stoudemire.
Tim, and you can see some Demon Deacon strategy right here. If Grant Hill's going to bring the ball up the court, they're going to have a defender on him all the way up the court in an attempt to wear him down.
Help there by Owens. Eric Meek was on the end line, and it'll go over to Wake. These are 2 teams, Dan, that frankly have been forced to tighten their rotation. Obviously, Wake Forest, because they don't have as much size, having lost Rodney Rogers, or experience in their front line. And in the case of Duke, having lost Kenny Blakeney, a youngster that was academically ruled ineligible, is now out of school. So this is a team now, this Duke team, that is probably as shy on personnel on its bench as they've been in some time. Owens uses the glass.
Just too quick inside for Parks, and again, no help, drops down from the top, so Owens has time to make a move.
Clark fading away. Marty Clark making good use of his first start in some time, gives the Blue Devils a 1-point lead.
That's a good move by Clark. One of the best ways to defend somebody is to attack him, and he attacked Childress.
Anderson, more of a two-guard than a point guard, has never really been comfortable at the point position. And you see Jeff Capel coming in for the first time, the freshman from Fayetteville, North Carolina, who had been starting most of the time for this team. And Collins sits down.
Newton also in the basketball game.
Greg Newton, freshman from Niagara Falls.
Capel had started the last 7 games for the Blue Devils. Grant Hill trying to post up inside.
Nice spin move. First deuce of the game for Grant Hill.
Trelawney Owens tried to get there, but Hill just spun in the opposite direction, and so Owens was not able to help out.
Tim Duncan has come back into the game now for Wake Forest.
This is a tough matchup for Newton.
Childress, his first attempt, and it falls short, though he does draw the foul.
Matt Blucas at about 6'2". This is a tough matchup for him against Grant Hill. Hill catches the ball, sees Trelawney Owens. That's why he's everybody's preseason All-American. A very quick spin to the basket.
Good illustration, though, Dan, of what Davey Odom was talking about today at the practice, that you have to put a body on Hill, bump him a little bit. LaRue you see in the game now, the former and current Wake Forest quarterback. He started 5 games for the Demon Deacons football team this year out of Greensboro, Northwest Guilford.
LaRue and Blucas have really played well recently, and in Wake Forest opener against Florida State, LaRue and Blucas sort of tag team. Bob Sura held him for the 5 for 20 shooting.
Both of them very tough on the defensive end.
Blucas continues to be matched up against Grant Hill.
Newton may have been guilty going up the back, and he was. John Morrow right on top of it, his first foul. 5th team foul against the Blue Devils.
Scooter Banks in the ball game for the Demon Deacons. One thing about that particular play, Duke got the foul, and so Wake gets the ball, but Grant Hill spun past Blucas and got to the board for the offensive rebound. And if he has no other assignment tonight, Blucas's job is to keep Grant Hill off the offensive board.
Blucas, that's his spot. Off the front iron. Duncan reaching in against Newton gets called.
Wake Forest foul number 21, Tim.
That's a tough foul on Duncan because that's now his 2nd personal foul. You can see the reaction of Dave Odom. Wake Forest very, very thin along the front line.
They're very thin along that front line. Obviously, Rogers being gone, but obviously Maktar Injai, who they thought they would have, who's just recently enrolled at Michigan. As you see Clark knocking one home. And Ricardo Peral, the young man from Spain, who's waiting for the NCAA to conclude its investigation with respect to his eligibility. Childress anticipated a move to the glass by Duncan that wasn't there.
Duncan's been slow to the basket twice now on that give-and-go situation.
Travis Banks brings it down.
Banks only about 6'6".
Banks off the feed from LaRue.
Two-pointer for Travis Banks.
Well, you can really tell, Dan, that Wake Forest does match up very well with this Duke team.
Wake Forest has certainly shown the ability to get and make open shots in this basketball game.
Hill off the pick from Newton. A three-pointer for Grant Hill. No sign that that hand of his is bothering him at any point in that shot.
That's going to disrupt Wake Forest plans in a big way if Grant Hill is going to score effectively from behind the arc. A guy like him, you have to give up something.
Banks. Tough shot. Cleared by Clark. Numbers to Meek. Oh, what a pass. Fouled by Banks.
Wake Forest simply slow getting back on defense. Marty Clark with an extremely aggressive play. He gets the ball off the board and starts up the court with it. Sees his taller teammate in front of him, gets in the ball. Meek was actually surprised at the pass. Nice job by Clark.
He'll take a seat, and Newton will join him there. A young man from Escondido, California, that has showed slow progress with this team, has given them quality minutes, both last year and early this season.
Well, every big guy that comes into this league, Tim, isn't as polished as Joe Smith from the University of Maryland. Lots of times big guys take a while to develop, and Meek has had the opportunity to come along slowly. Now, Cherokee Parks, he's developed fairly nicely, though.
No doubt about it. And in fairness to Meek, he spent some time in a wheelchair a couple of years ago, was hit by a drunk driver, damaging his leg. So he's worked through some difficult times as well. Not the only Blue Devil to have problems with the road. We'll be back.
Go behind the locker room door.
Big Atlantic 10 showdown in Morgantown, and UMass is in control early. Dana Dingle will miss the shot. Marcus Camby comes up with a board, throws it down. Camby sitting with 3 fouls, but the Minutemen in control last minute of the first half. Tim?
All right, Chris, in West Virginia, obviously, they've had their fair share of success recently. That win against Temple, a big one for them.
Grant Hill making that 3-point shot a little early. You can see what his numbers are this year, the leading scorer, leading in assists. Duke with that zone defense out of the timeout.
Childress for 3.
And that's the danger. You go to that zone, you try to trap, and Randolph Childress might be open to shoot the ball in the basket from 3-point range.
That's also his first perimeter jumper of the night. Hartz. Oh, right in the face of Trelawney Owens.
This is very indicative of one of the problems Wake Forest is going to have. Tim Duncan out on the bench now with 2 personal fouls. They're very small, are the Deacons.
LaRue runs that curl, gets past Collins. Made a nice pass, but Owens didn't come up with it. 8 turnovers now by the Demon Deacons. Lang.
Good block out by Owens. Wake again, a little slow getting back on defense, but it didn't hurt him that time. Duke back to the man-to-man. Boy, Childress is quick with the basketball, Tim.
Off the ball, he gets the pick from Owens, but can't do anything with it. LaRue. Shot clock now down to 12. There's that first step, and a look to Owens. Rejected by Hill. Childress may be guilty of being a little too unselfish. Demon Deacons come right back with it as Banks gets in the passing lane. LaRue for 3. Capel comes away with it. Well, a couple of dry trips for both teams.
Wake Forest has stayed in the man-to-man defense. Now LaRue switches out on Grant Hill. Lucas still in the ball game, but he's guarding Collins.
Well, good defense by Owens there. Parks ran out of shoulder room.
It's a good move by Duke, though, to go to Cherokee Parks with that basketball. Owens a couple of inches smaller.
This is Owens' favorite baseline. He's more of a left-handed baseline player.
Wake Forest has had 3 straight very poor offensive sequences there. LaRue picks up the basketball. Not a lot of movement on offense. Only 1 shot and done.
16 fouls now committed by the Demon Deacons. The first on Rusty LaRue. Grant Hill takes a seat. Marty Clark coming back in for him.
And with Hill out of the game, Lucas has gone out of the game for Wake Forest.
Takes LaRue down to the baseline to post him up.
You know, Tim, we have yet to see an offensive rebound in this game. Neither team has an offensive rebound. And with the great size of the Duke Blue Devils, you have to say that's advantage Wake Forest. If they throw it out of bounds there's 4 straight trips that haven't played well.
9 turnovers by the Demon Deacons, yet they're only down by 5.
Duke leads Wake Forest by 5 here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And you know, if you've ever wondered why Grant Hill is considered to be one of the top players in the country. Consider all the phases of his game. The three-point jump shooter, yes, he can do that. The nice assist on offense, spotting his teammate Cherokee Parks open on the inside. And then on the defensive end, last year's National Defensive Player of the Year with the blocked shot.
The total package, and now he watches from the bench as Clark leads the break and commits the player control foul. Harrison in position to pick up that foul. Mike Krzyzewski, dating back to 1984, Tommy Amaker's freshman year, has had a proven, distinguished point guard. It was Quinn Snyder that followed in '89, and then obviously Bobby Hurley. This is the first time he hasn't had the typical Duke point guard, and that means Grant Hill has to do more things, including taking the ball at the top at key times. As you see, Quinn Snyder, now an administrative assistant on the staff for Coach Gadd.
Capel now matched up against Randolph Childress. You know, Childress looks to me like he's a little slow to pull the trigger, Tim. He hits that basket, but he passed up one before.
I think he's been too unselfish at times. He has 7 points. He hasn't missed from the floor. He got to the line once, hit a three-pointer.
Well, certainly if the guy's not going to miss any shots, you'd like him to take them.
You'd like him to take a few. Lang, a turnaround.
Boy, that's a nice move by Antonio Lang. Certainly that ankle doesn't seem to be bothering him, but that was a very good cut across the lane and then a very quick and smooth move to the basket.
If Hill has been the total package, then Lang has been the most consistent for this unbeaten Duke team. Pretty good cut. Banks off the back iron, cleared by Clark. Clark has 3 rebounds.
Get the idea that Wake Forest feels they can attack Antonio Lang on the offensive end, because whenever Lang's guy catches the ball, it seems like he's shooting it, but Owens pulls Meek down there. That's pretty good takedown.
Dave Odom may have gotten a tee. Yep,
Yes,
he did. Lenny Wirtz got him. He was very upset with that call, and they teed him up.
Well, again, Wake Forest much smaller. Trelawney Owens banging in there, has his arms wrapped around him. Right there, he grabs him and pulls him down. That is a foul, and that is an excellent call. He grabbed him by the arm and pushed him to the ground. That's a call that has to be made. That inside play, one of the points of emphasis this year, again, in officiating. Dave Odom didn't like the call. It's possible that Dave Odom didn't see, since he was screened by the play, that he didn't see it. Now, was that technical foul called against Dave Odom or against Trelawney Owens?
It appeared as if Lenny Wirtz had teed up Davey Odom. Of course, our location is far higher than the norm here at Cameron Indoor Stadium, so it's a little more difficult for us to determine, in fact, who was the recipient of the technical foul.
Well, the point is, if it's a technical foul on Trelawney Owens, since it was an unsporting technical, that would be a foul on Owens and a personal foul. It counts as a personal foul, so that's 1 foul for Owens for pushing Meek down, and then a 2nd foul for Owens for the technical. Now, on the scoreboard, they still have Owens with only 1 personal foul.
Davey Odom wishes he had picked it up, because then Owens would have 1 less foul. It's a 7-point Duke lead.
That's a very tough break for Wake Forest. Down 7, losing Owens. Down 9, Grant Hill. Boy, he's looked sharp tonight.
Very productive trip for Duke. Mark that one down. It came 14 minutes deep into the opening half. Owens with a foul and a technical that works out to be a 4-point trip. Harrison, a leaner, gets the roll.
And I think that was a pretty big basket for Wake Forest. Duke was out to the 9-point lead. Owens was on the bench. Now Wake Forest has to pick it up on the defensive end. Collins pass
To Capel.
The Blue Devils have done a nice job penetrating the outside defense of the Demon Deacons.
Harrison again, the runner, using the window.
I guess Harrison knows that that's a freshman out there playing against him. Harrison with a lot more confidence all of a sudden.
Senior transfer out of Georgetown, played at Archbishop Carroll in D.C. to take step one towards possibly being #1 next week. Parks staying with it. On the reach, Banks will get the foul.
Tim Duncan is playing with 2 personal fouls, and he had to be a little careful against Cherokee Parks. Watch Parks get the ball, gives the pass back out. Now watch him operate here against Duncan. The ball comes down. Duncan's got to be careful. Duncan doesn't block him out, and as a result, the foul is called.
That was the first offensive rebound of the game for either team recorded by Parks. You see his numbers just under a double-double for the season. Parks gets caught.
That's a very bad foul by Cherokee Parks. You don't want to pick up a foul reaching in on a dribbler 94 feet away from the basket.
Also,
and he's shaking his head. The big guy knows it.
Yeah, and it means a bonus. 1-and-1, a free one for Wake Forest. 7th team foul.
Cherokee Parks misses the free throw. Now watch him come down. I think he's a little frustrated he missed the free throw, so he's going to reach right in right there. That's just not a very good play. Cherokee Parks is enough of a veteran to know that. There's Trelawney Owens back in the basketball game with those 2 personal fouls. Technical foul was indeed against Trelawney Owens. So Owens with 2, Duncan with 2, the Deacons in some foul trouble.
Travis Banks started earlier in the season and then is now coming off the bench. That's what he's shooting into. He comes up empty, 1 of 2 at the stripe. Cherokee will trigger it in.
They have 10 seconds to shoot that ball on the free throw line, and Banks used about all of it both times.
Clark with a penetration. Marty Clark has 8.
Tim, that's what I mentioned before. Duke doing a very good job with the penetration. Wake Forest, it's hard for them to come and help because they don't want to leave those big guys inside.
Game's largest lead of 8 for the Blue Devils. Just under 4.5 until the intermission. Childress blows past Parks. Short-armed it, cleared by Grant Hill. Numbers. Clark will pull up. Banks, quick outlet to Blucas. Followed by Banks.
Mike Krzyzewski can't be happy about that. 2 of his players ran the court, the other 3 didn't, and as a result, nobody was there to get that rebound. Banks dunked it in.
That'll always get Coach K off the pine.
Wake Forest really hasn't been able to get out much in transition.
There's that swing. How about that crossover dribble to the pull-up J? 9 for Grant Hill. He makes it look so easy. Childress. First miss from the perimeter for Randolph Childress, but again, he has not launched many shots in the first half to this point.
That was excellent ball movement by Wake Forest. Childress won't miss many wide open threes like that.
Speaking of not triggering many shots, Collins has it. Now that may change. He can ignite a team, a natural leader. And he brings the Cameron Crazies to their feet.
Duke now in the zone.
This begs for Childress, doesn't it?
Childress walk.
Official timeout.
Duke with an 11-point lead over Wake Forest. 2:34 remaining. That's the largest lead of the game. And one of the real keys to this lead is the lack of shooting from Randolph Childress. He's only taken 4 shots from the floor. Now, this is the ACC's leading scorer, leading three-point shooter. Now he's on the bench with only 7 points. I mean, you need him to take more shots from the floor.
I think the Duke defense has something to do with it, but Randolph Childress, in my mind, has passed up 3 or 4 shots. And that statistic that you gave, he's got no assists. He certainly isn't passing up the shots to create shots for other people.
Relani Owens picks up a third. And how big is that? With 2:22 remaining in the first half.
Well, right at the moment, with 2:22 remaining in the first half, Dave Odom has his 2 big guns on the bench. Jelani Owens with 3 personal fouls. Randolph Childress sitting on the bench.
And that technical foul was really the catalyst to the double-digit lead.
I don't think there's any question about that. Owens lost his poise there for just a minute, and under the rule that went into effect last season, that's not a new rule this season. Last season, that technical foul, the unsporting technical foul, counted against your personal foul total. That really hurt Wake Forest.
We talked about Cherokee Parks against top caliber competition. Sharon Wright most recently, he had the double-double. Juwan Howard, and we had the game here earlier, he had a career high 20 rebounds against Grant, who, by the way, could be a first-round draft pick out of Xavier. Childress gets back in. Down a dozen. Odom needs Childress back in the offensive arsenal.
And with Childress back in the game, Duke is back to the man-to-man defense. Grant Hill picked up a foul very early against Childress, but he still only has 1. Nice switch by Duke. Nice help by Parks. Nice job by Grant Hill to get back to his man.
Harrison, we may have had a foul off the ball. We did. Women's NCAA basketball coming up later tonight, 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 on the Pacific Coast. Center Rhonda Smith and the Huskies take on Lisa Leslie and the Trojans of USC. Washington and USC, 2 top-flight teams on ESPN. Make your plans to be with us. Cherokee Parks goes to the bench.
That's 2 fouls now against Cherokee Parks.
And Duncan is at the strap.
Duncan has struggled this evening.
Failing to scratch early on. There's the entry pass to me. Duncan with the rejection.
That's a pretty good aggressive play by a guy with 2 personal fouls.
Hill shadowing Childress' every move.
Grant Hill really played the ball on that particular play. He came off that screen, wasn't looking for Randolph Childress, got into the passing lane, knocked it out of bounds. Childress asking for a screen from Duncan. Once again, Duke does a great job handling that high screen. That's really good defense.
Harrison over Collins, and Chris did all he could, but Harrison knocked home the 3.
Sometimes great offense is just better than good defense. Duke is still banging on Hill inside. Side cleared for Hill.
Too strong. Banks, who's been very active on the glass for Wake Forest, brings it down. Harrison blows past Collins and Clark. Great move by Harrison. He has 9.
You know, Randolph Childress that time walked up the court, and that allowed Grant Hill to walk up the court. I think Childress has to run the court on offense, make Hill guard it.
Delta Fawcett halftime report on its way. Chris Fowler, Digger Phelps standing by.
This is a tough matchup for Lucas out here.
They got a body on him, didn't they? There's the help. Good defense by Wake Forest.
That would have counted.
Sequence, yep. Well, folks, we spare no expense in bringing you the best in sports excitement. Well, we'll throw up a graphic, right? The Delta Faucet halftime report is next. Here's Chris Fowler. Chris?
Tim, thank you. And the Duke students will stop at nothing to get a few precious seconds of airtime on ESPN. As they mentioned, the Delta Faucet halftime report is coming up. We'll have some scores and highlights, as well as the latest on a potential boycott by the black coaches. We'll hear from Roy Williams when we continue. Right now, it is the Blue Devils on top of the Demon Deacons. After 20 minutes, it's a 7-point lead.
ESPN's exclusive coverage of NCAA basketball is brought to you by State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And welcome to the Delta Faucet halftime report. It's Duke by 7 over Wake Forest. The major issue in college basketball continues to be the specter of a potential boycott by the black coaches following the NCAA convention. Now, as the dust clears from San Antonio, the Division I commissioners had a conference call today, decided not to have a unified policy to deal with a boycott. If and when it happens, each conference will follow its own individual bylaws. But as the weekend approaches, it's plain that among the community of coaches, still a lot of uncertainty and confusion as to what might happen.
I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's sad that issues were not addressed as the way we felt like they were going to be, and I don't know what is going to happen. I'm in support of the BCA and the issues that they're trying to fight, and I'm struggling.
I would like to see us move the black coaches' issues forward, but to move them forward in terms of the larger package of concerns. And if we could get on the table what those concerns are, and then use the creative thinking of the entire association to get some good ideas about how we can address those concerns, not just how we can provide one more scholarship on our basketball teams.
Now, Digger, that's an excellent idea, except black coaches and all coaches would say, wait a minute, we've voiced our concern for years. They've known what our concerns are, and they've ignored them. Nothing's been done, thus the need for strong action.
And what happens out of that, we always get back to the kids. In high school, we cut out extracurricular activities, kids suffer. In college, we take away a scholarship, kids suffer. It's more than just cost reduction, it's how do we resolve this? Right now, in my opinion, there is a solid group of white coaches supporting the BCA, and also, in my opinion, we need now a mediator to come in with what? Well, to me, it's the Joint Policy Committee, which includes the President's Commission, okay, as well as the NCAA Council. Their executive committees have enough power to sit down now, come up with an olive branch, present it to the BCA, as well as all the other issues with the coaches, and to me, it comes down to this, Chris, a football playoff. Could have been played last Monday night in San Antonio during a convention. Very simple, put $60 million on the table, $25 million goes to minority scholarships, $25 million goes to gender equity. You resolve it, you have the convention, everybody parties, have a nice day, see you next week, let's play.
Well, the football playoff would solve a lot of things in my mind. We shall wait and see whether a boycott develops with that solid block of white coaches behind the black coaches. Meanwhile, on the courts tonight, a big showdown in the Atlantic 10. UMass and West Virginia, both clubs rolling. Perhaps the Minutemen a little bit more experience in these big games, and Calipari's team playing well in the early going. The first half, Marcus Camby. The block of Marcellus Basie. And watch the open jumper by Basie here.
Basie not shooting the ball well, and that's a big, big problem. West Virginia tonight struggling shooting the ball. Mass is for real.
Marcus Camby goes in for the dunk, and it was a 13-point lead for the Minutemen at halftime. Now, Camby, with the 8 points and 8 rebounds, did have 3 fouls. He is sitting down, and the Mountaineers have crept a little closer, a 10-point margin with 16:30 to play. In the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan, the Wolverines ranked number 10. Happy to be back home after a couple of scares on the road. In the first half, Derek Anderson, look at the tough baseline leaner in the face of Jalen Rose right there. But the Wolverines would answer. Jimmy King, the baseline drive, and the slam in traffic. And right now, Ohio State is hanging tough. It is 16-14. The Buckeyes lead, 11:53 to play in the first half. We will have more in the Delta Faucet halftime report. Louisville in action against Virginia Commonwealth. We'll check out those highlights when we come back. It is Duke over Wake Forest by 7 at the break.
This halftime report is presented by the Delta Faucet Company. Delta, the way water is brought to life.
And we continue on the Delta Faucet halftime report. Louisville, after losing at home a conference game to Virginia Commonwealth, taking on the Hokies of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech coming in at 10-1 and unbeaten in the conference. And Bill Foster pacing the sidelines of the early going. Ace Curtis, backdoor, gets the open layup, and Tech hanging tough early. Then the freshman for Louisville, Matt Simons, hangs around the basket, hits the lucky bounce and the foul.
Yeah, Simons, one of the 5 freshmen, strong, back up to Rozier, goes up, knows how to play the game, 6'11", 230. He's going to help the Cardinals inside all year.
Up-tempo game so far. The Cardinals with a 50-40 halftime lead. Minor with 12 points in the first half. And Gerald Honeycutt, a freshman for Tulane, scoring 20 of the first 22 points for the Green Wave as they take on VCU. 48-38, Tulane has a 10-point lead at Fogelman, 20 of the first 22. And in the Missouri Valley, Tulsa and Drake, it is 30-25. Drake getting back in the ballgame after trailing by a big margin early. They're now midway in the first half in a high-scoring game there. We'll continue with more, get you back to the second half at Cameron. As we go to break, more scores. Northeastern, think about high scoring, 51-47 after 20 minutes. Game 2 of the doubleheader from Tucson, Arizona and Cal. Jason Kidd, Lamont Murray been playing very, very well. That follows our first game. At the break, it's the Blue Devils over the Demon Deacons. Grant Hill showing his repertoire of skills, stepping out, burying the 3 of his 9. The Dukies are up 37-30. Second half coming up after this.
ESPN's exclusive coverage of NCAA basketball is brought to you by the people of Nike, who encourage you to just do it.
With a 7-point lead at halftime over the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. We welcome you back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Along with Dan Bonner, I am Tim Brando. You know, Digger touched on it along with Chris Fowler at halftime in reference to the proposed boycott of the Black Coaches Association this weekend. Ironically, the president of Wake Forest University, Dr. Thomas Hearn, made statements in San Antonio relative to integrity, meaning that if they went back to 14 scholarships after the reformists had gone down to 13, they would perhaps lack integrity by making such a decision. That angered Mike Krzyzewski to such a point that he made this particular statement. To say that you keep making rules without getting input from the people who live the rules and who represent the kids who are playing by the rules is appalling. He also said to just have a closed ear to the coaches group representing the coaches and the kids playing the game is wrong. Absolutely wrong. And further, I've seen it now for the last decade, and the game is being hurt each year as a result of that. And Dan, I'd love to get your comments relative to that. We do know this much about Coach K. Those kinds of statements are in reference to the good of the game.
Coach K has been interested in the good of the game. When you talk about somebody with integrity, Mike Krzyzewski is one of the first guys who comes to mind, at least in my mind. The thing that's disappointing here to me, there's not a business in this country or many organizations in this country that haven't faced some sort of financial difficulty, and the chief executives of these companies try to think of ways to deal with it. They've adopted concepts like total quality, and one of the keys to that is that you empower the people who are involved with executing the decisions in making those decisions, and I think that that's something that the presidents haven't done. If the coaches constantly have to go as supplicants and not as partners, then the relationship just simply can't be a positive one. And regardless of what they decide, I think the presidents have to find a way to make the coaches a partner in these decisions.
That having been said, we can also further make the statement that Coach K told his team prior to the start of tonight's game, and you see Mike Bray by his side, fellas, I don't know enough about this yet to make a decision. As soon as I know more, I'll let you know. He is the one that obviously is empowered with the responsibility of telling his kids what he feels is in the best interest of the game. And coming up at halftime of the Cal-Arizona game, you'll hear from Coach K himself.
Tim, as we start the second half, Wake Forest on a 5-point run. They scored the last 5 points of the first half to cut into a 12-point lead, and it's very important that they start the second half solidly.
Obviously, Childress will have to launch a few more shots for this team to be successful. He's averaging 13 shots at the basket per game.
That was a nice play by Duncan there. He's going to get fouled by Antonio Lang.
That having been said, look at the numbers. Childress just shooting 4 shots, and obviously 7 points won't get it done. Grant Hill 4 for 8. He has 9 in the game, and also a number of assists that have led to baskets as well.
Grant Hill has done an excellent defensive job against Randolph Childress, but particularly early in the half, Childress passed up a couple of opportunities that you would normally expect him to take.
Antonio Lang picked up that foul. That's his 3rd. He becomes the first Blue Devil in any foul difficulty.
There's that Hill-Childress matchup. Remember, Trelawney Owens has 3 fouls. Duncan has 2.
Shot clock at 2. Childress will have to launch. Oh, great patience by the Wake Forest offense that time, as Childress took it to the glass with some authority with only 1 second left.
And that's now 7 consecutive points by Wake Forest. This little run has gotten them back in the ball game.
The old coaching adage, it's how you finish a half and start a half. It's very important in any game. Help by Childress leads to the turnover.
Duke really likes to lob the ball inside the Cherokee Park.
Owens with a steal and a slam. Now that's 2 trips we've seen Childress go to the goal. You think Odom got in his ear at halftime?
Well, Randolph Childress has come out very aggressively in the second half. You'd have to think that that's what happened at halftime.
Clark had a very nice first half.
Particularly the start of the game, Tim. He really played very, very well. Randolph Childress working against Grant Hill on the offensive end of the court. You see Grant Hill. Nice job by Hill to fight through that screen, but he doesn't get all the way there, and Childress gets to the basket. Nice job by Wake Forest. A couple more screens for Randolph Childress certainly will make it more difficult for Grant Hill to defend him so close.
Lucas picked up that foul, his 2nd. Long rebound to Childress, and this is numbers. 4 on 2 for Randolph. Loses his dribble and slips. Hill wins the scrum.
Very poor execution on the fast break by Wake Forest. They had a 4 on 2.
Hill. Good look from Marty Clark. And Hill has 11. Childress lost the dribble, and that led to the deuce on the other end. Duncan, wide open seam. He manages to draw the foul. Marty Clark gets caught reaching in.
Duncan turned actually away from the opening, Tim. He had a lane to the basket, turned away. I think he was a little bit afraid that if he went to the basket, somebody would come and draw the charge, and he's trying to be very careful not to pick up that 3rd foul early. Now, this is a young guy right here. He's only got 2 points tonight, but he's been a very, very pleasant surprise for Wake Forest. And were it not for the absolutely outstanding play of Maryland's Joe Smith, you'd have to say that Tim Duncan has been the surprise freshman in the ACC. Keith Booth from Maryland having a very good season, but he came in very highly touted, as did Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace. This young man has played very well. Of course, the play of Joe Smith from Maryland has about obscured everybody, freshman or no.
Great start for Gary Williams, his club this year. Parks cleared by Duncan.
Wake Forest really not looking to get the ball out and run off the rebound in transition. If they steal the ball, they try to get out in transition, but they're really trying to make it a half-court game off the rebound.
But they've outscored Duke 10-2 in the last 6 minutes of the game.
Harrison has been very aggressive offensively for Wake Forest. He's now 5 of 6 shooting.
This is a 12-2 run for Wake Forest, stretching back 3 minutes left at the end of the half. Clark. Owens collects it. Duncan loses it.
Trelawney Owens is very fortunate that Duke didn't get a basket. just can't save that ball underneath your defensive basket unless you're sure where you're throwing it.
Off the switch, Parks is rejected by Duncan. Oh, I tell you, Marty Clark has never performed better. He has 10, but he's worked hard to get all 10. Look at the numbers off the turnovers.
That's Duke basketball. They've created points off turnovers with their defense for a long, long time.
Lucas has a free lane.
That's Duncan again. Boy, Duncan's come out and done a nice job in the second half. He's been much more aggressive despite those 2 personal fouls.
Duncan now has 6. Blue Devils by 1, looking for number 1 next week, provided they win here and in Charlottesville over the weekend. Owens, they leave him alone. He can step out and hit that one all night long. I mean, when Rodney Rogers was in the lineup, that was his role, to step out and hit that shot.
Wake's got the lead, Tim.
First Wake lead since it was 9-8. Harrison on the run. Fouled by Hill.
Dave Odom wants a goaltending call to go along with the personal foul. This is a very nice job by Harrison. Leaves his man, steals the ball as he gets down. Right there's the foul. Grant Hill, however, he could have stayed back there and watched that play, but he turned and he ran the entire court, made a very nice block. Unfortunately for Duke, the foul was called on Collins.
Charlie Harrison, Dan, you can make a great case that he has been pushed by the 3-guard attack used by Dave Odom. Has become a more aggressive player because of the minutes now that are being afforded to players like LaRue as well as Lucas and what they mean to the team. The Demon Deacons, who trailed by 11, have outscored the Blue Devils by a bundle since. And the big guy from the Virgin Islands slamming and tipping to the lead.
Wake Forest with the 2-point lead over the Duke Blue Devils. One of the Demon Deacon pieces of strategy was to make Grant Hill run the court. Mark Blucas matched up against him. And right here, Blucas gets the help from Charlie Harrison. Now watch Grant Hill's reaction. On the fast break, Wake Forest guards are out and running. Grant Hill forced to run the court. Over the course of a 40-minute game, Wake Forest hopes Grant Hill wears down.
They believe they have more answers along their perimeter. Capel with the follow. Jeff Capel. They projected him as a starter very early this season. He's done exactly that until tonight. Marty Clark getting the call and responding. Wake Forest outscoring Duke 18-6 in the last 7.5 minutes. The end of the first half and the opening moments here in the second. And we're tied at 43. That's a good deep on the pass from Harrison, which sets up Childress for the 3-pointer. A little ball fake by Harrison to key that.
Again, Randolph Childress moving without the basketball. Wake Forest screening inside. And as a result, Grant Hill having to react quickly to Randolph Childress. Goes for the fake. Particularly in the second half.
Owens and Blucas in position to pick up the foul. It's Blucas' third. And again, a reminder, remember last night, Donald Williams, an 0-fer. Travis Best played his best. That led to the Jackets, the 17th rated team in the country, knocking off number 1.
Once you get into your conference season, Tim, you play these tough games on the road, for example. If you're Wake Forest, your big guys have to step up and play well. LaRue's going to get the foul right there. At It's really tough for a guard to make that play unless the big guy dribbles the basketball. LaRue had a pretty good idea, but Parks, with a good fundamental play, didn't put it on the court.
There you see from the floor, Duke having their problems in the second half. Capel, well, he almost turned that one over off the defense given him by Childress.
Duke really looking for some offense.
There it is from Capel, a three-pointer.
Well, the young man figures if they're looking for some offense, he'll show them where to find some.
He's known more as a slasher. He goes to the basket. I think he surprised the Demon Deacons by pulling up for three. Blue Devils look for the lead on this possession. Hill. Good look to Meek. The total package. If you need a big play, look for Grant Hill to be involved. LaRue, too strong. Capel saves it. Collins, oh my.
That was a long shot. And very suddenly, Duke is all over the offensive board.
Duncan rejects Parks. Boy, he has good hands on the defensive end.
Childress slowing the basketball game down. Wake Forest shooting quickly the last two trips down the court, coming up empty. Looks like they're going to try to make the Blue Devils work a little bit on defense.
Davey Odom said, I just give it to my guards and let them go out and win it for me.
And they better hurry up. They've only got 5 seconds. 4 on the shot clock.
Pretty good decision by Harrison.
Wake Forest has done a nice job in this basketball game executing when the shot clock is run down.
14 for Charlie Harrison.
And what a great crossover dribble by Grant Hill. Did you see him hold his pivot foot and make the basket? How do you do that?
Oh! Yeah, you're right. We're not worthy. That's a special play.
Wake Forest has done a tremendous job keeping him from the offensive board. LaRue is on the ground, but there's Grant Hill. Watch him catch this ball, hold his pivot foot, get it back up. Even though LaRue's got him locked up down around the legs, that's a great play. Good grief.
The other thing that he's done this year with this team is exert himself vocally on the floor. That was one of the real strong points of Bobby Hurley with the past few Duke teams. Now Hill is doing it both with his play and with his leadership. Oh, yeah.
Michigan has beaten Ohio State the last 3 meetings, but tonight the Buckeyes are lighting it up. Derek Anderson from behind the line, 3 of his 12. The Buckeyes by 5 at the break, Tim.
All right, Chris, and Ohio State most recently a loser to Wisconsin. And as Anderson shoots from the perimeter, much as Hill plays for Duke, the Buckeyes will be successful.
It's got to be a matter of concern for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons as Childress launches this 3 and misses. That's a great tip by Duncan. But on the other end of the court, Duke suddenly is getting to the offensive boards. Wake Forest was very concerned about the Duke offensive rebounding. For the most part, they've shut it off. But the last couple of trips, Duke's gotten there.
Meek, too strong.
Good rebound by Duncan.
Well, he's stepped up to another level in this half, hasn't he?
He really wasn't out there in the first half. You didn't see much of him. Didn't make very many plays. Looks like Meek is going to get called for the foul against Trelawney Owens.
Second foul on Eric Meek.
His second personal foul, number 4.
Duke in the zone defense on the inbounds play.
tough pass to make, and they paid for it. Clark, you got to get on him.
He's really had a fine basketball game. Duke up by 5. They've had a 10-2 run. This second half has been one of runs, Tim.
Childress trying to create.
That's very good defense. Nice job by Grant Hill. Good help by his teammates.
And forcing the issue somewhat this time, he manages to draw the foul from Meek.
Meek moved underneath him a little bit. Grant Hill doing a nice job against Childress, but he's not doing it all himself. Watch as Childress comes to the baseline. Meek steps out. Now Meek gets back to his man. Childress, however, really tough off the dribble. Beats him. Meek moves in at the last minute, doesn't get there in time.
On the line for the Deacons, 2 shots.
He has the ability to take over a game. He had 36 against Florida State. It had been nearly 17 years since a Demon Deacon had scored more points in a single game. Charlie Davis accomplished that with 38 back in 1970 against Virginia Tech. In a 4-minute span for Davey Odom's club, he scored 15 points in a row in the second half of that game.
You better believe Mike Krzyzewski's conscious of that particular statistic. He knows Childress can get a lot in a hurry.
Hill has 16, and the Blue Devils' lead is 5.
Hill did a great job using inside screens to get himself open.
You see Duncan really wants the ball in there with Meek, but just can't come up with it. Now he flashes high.
Meek can put that big body on him. Duncan's a little thin. Meek's in trouble now.
Childress blows by him, counted in a foul.
Wake Forest did a nice job being patient out on the perimeter as those Duke big guys step out to help. They forced the switch, and as soon as Childress saw Meek matched up against him, he drives aggressively to the basket. Meek looking for help. You can see Meek look over his shoulder. Nobody there to help out. Childress gets all the way to the basket. Meek just no match for him out there. Capel's going to get the foul reaching in. See, Childress is very pleased at the end of that particular play. You know, he's been out there looking at Grant Hill all night. He had to be very pleased when he saw Eric Meek standing there instead.
Number 34, Travis Banks.
Travis Banks coming back into the game, replacing Lucas.
This is about as big as Wake Forest gets. They've got their 3 quote-unquote big guys in the game. Duncan at 6'10", Banks at 6'6", Owens at about 6'8".
Coming over to chat with Davey Odom.
Well, it wasn't passing the time of day. I don't know what this discussion is all about. Lenny's all business out there.
I think he may have spotted a little wolf there going on. He wanted to talk to Coach Odom about it.
No, he wanted Childress to tuck his shirt in.
Lenny always was a neat guy. Clark draws the
That's
foul.
Trelawney Owens. That's 4.
And the playmaker is at a premium tonight with Jason Kidd going up against arguably the best tandem of guards in the country. Arizona's Khalid Reeves and Damon Stoudemire as Arizona takes on Cal, number 6 against number 19, immediately after our game.
Tim, you very rarely see a young man go and beg the referee to call the foul on him, but that's exactly what Randolph Childress did right there. That's his first personal foul. Had it been called on Trelawney Owens, that would have been 4 on Owens.
Marty Clark at the strike.
Clark continues to make things happen out there with his aggressiveness, both on the offensive end and defensive end. He's got 14 now. 13, excuse me. I was just early.
Yeah, you were right all along.
I took the time machine into the future. I knew that.
Blue Devils by 4. Just under 9 minutes remaining from Cameron Indoor Stadium. Tim Brando, Dan Bonner, happy to have you with us. The Blue Devils looking for number 1 in next week's poll. Must accomplish a W tonight and a W over the weekend against Virginia. And the foul spotted against Chris Collins. That's
Wake Forest very fortunate on that particular play. Randolph Childress saw the play very quickly and makes what should be a good pass, but Scooter Banks is slow getting down the lane. There's Clark coming to help. Banks should be going to the basket. Childress knows it, but Banks doesn't, and they're very fortunate to pick up the foul. That's a great pass by Childress.
Owens, the offensive rebound. Scorekeeper. Not exactly sure why we had the stoppage of play. Again, from our vantage point at Cameron Indoor Stadium, those incidental stoppages of the game and conversations are difficult for us to discern.
I think that Lenny Works pointed at the shot clock. He seemed to see some problem with the shot clock, but it was rectified very quickly.
Or we get just a couple of seconds off the shot clock needed to come, and they got that. Owens finds Childress. Parks takes it away.
That's a tough break for Wake. They had a good opportunity. Unlike early in the first half when Owens really could do whatever he wanted down inside, he hasn't been very open.
Collins wanted a foul from Childress.
And he better be careful he doesn't get a technical.
There's Duncan. Boy, are they leaving him wide open. Finally, he gets the roll.
Tim, you know,
therefore,
it's amazing. They left him wide open. He turned the wrong way again. Took the jump shot instead of the dunk.
Chris Collins and Harrison tie up, and Harrison will pick up the foul. Chris Collins, easily the most emotional player on this Blue Devils team. The heir apparent perhaps to Hurley once his total game picks up. That'll get your dander up. We'll be back.
In New Orleans, the freshman for Tulane, Gerald Honeycutt, is putting on an amazing show as the Posse take on VCU. The super freshman, the big dunk. It's an 11-point Tulane lead with 9 minutes to play.
Chris, they've been a little frustrated there at Tulane. Perry Clark's Posse losing a few games that they thought they should have come up with, and they're taking it out on the competition tonight.
As you look at Grant Hill's numbers, the Wake Forest strategy in this game was to try to make sure that Grant Hill had tired legs for the last 7 minutes. Well, we've got 7 minutes and 14 seconds left in the game. We'll see how that strategy works.
The Demon Deacons right where Dave Odom would like to be, although Grant Hill is not whom he'd like to see with the ball.
Randolph Childress comes out of that timeout guarding Grant Hill. I guess we're down. We're getting serious now.
Antonio Lang now is checking Duncan down low.
This is what they mean by a home court advantage as you listen to this crowd. 10 on the shot clock.
Duncan does get pushed by Lang. That's his fourth.
In the game, we'll see is Randolph Childress matched up against Grant Hill. That's the first time we've seen that matchup on that particular end of the court, and Hill just goes right to the basket. I think that was a mistake by Randolph Childress to go for the steal. You want to keep yourself between Grant Hill and the basket. And if Grant Hill is going to beat you with the jump shot, then you're just going to lose the game. But you shouldn't go for those steals and give him those easy opportunities.
Tim Duncan at the line. Much better opening line for this half. Those empty trips at the stripe won't help the cause. Clark flashes baseline. The iron untied.
It's not only the iron. Duncan got over there and got up in the way of that shot. That's a nice play by the freshman.
Childress rejected by Lang.
They can't believe that wasn't a goaltend.
Collins. Owens clears. Well, that could have been a big 5-point swing for the Blue Devils. As it is, Wake only down 4. off the dribble. Owens, good look. Oh, what a nice move by Owens. Cutting away from Banks, who threw him a nice pass.
That was a great rebound by Banks, but Owens with the head fake, the pivot, he got around 3 guys trying to block the shot and got the dunk. Banks now going to match up against Grant Hill. Pretty soon you're going to have to go down there and guard him.
It all starts with the pick by Parks, and Hill explodes to the basket. He has 20.
And not only that, Trelawney Owens picks up foul number 4. This is just a very poor job helping out on the screen. You see Banks runs into his own guy. If Duncan's going to step out there to help, he's got to get out of the way. As it is, Duncan got in the way of Banks, and Grant Hill going right to the basket.
I'd say Grant Hill's legs are still fresh.
It looked pretty fresh from our vantage point.
So far this season, we've seen North Carolina #1 twice, Kentucky once, Arkansas once. The Blue Devils look poised to be #1, provided they win here and on Saturday.
Those are 2 very big provided.
Yep. Childress off the dribble.
That's great defense.
Numbers. Collins. Oh! It just came out.
And Mike Krzyzewski grabs a hold of him. He does not want any technical fouls.
Fouls on number 13, Charlie Harrison.
This great defense by Grant Hill. Lang coming over to help out. Hill keeps his feet very well. Collins is going to take it all the way to the basket. He draws the foul. The ball very nearly goes in. And then Mike Krzyzewski makes a great save.
20, Chris Collins, 2 shots.
All right, son. We're going to talk about this right now.
That reminds me of many a time we've seen Bobby Hurley in his 4 years here. That emotional. As a matter of fact, last year, Coach K had to call a couple of timeouts just to settle Hurley down. If you recall, when Duke had lost the previous year, Hurley was not available, was not playing at that time, and Grant Hill had to go to the point. During that 5-game span, Hurley wanted to win at Wake so badly that Coach K had to call timeouts just to settle him down emotionally.
It's a big trip for Wake Forest.
Timeout as Dave Odom recognizes just that fact. But Collins embodies the emotion of this Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Duke has moved to the 7-point lead. One of the reasons Randolph Childress only one of his last 5 field goal attempts. Now, why would that be? Well, one reason is he's got a shadow there. Look at Grant Hill's eyes. Looks like he's looking down the court, right? No way. He is shadowing, watching Randolph Childress all the way. And this is right before the Wake Forest timeout. There they get the timeout. But talk about having a guy in your sights all the way down the court. Grant Hill really getting after it defensively.
And there are the cumulative numbers. And again, Childress only launching 4 shots in the opening half and has only made 1 of his last 5. Lucas for 3. A big tray coming out of the timeout as orchestrated by Dave Odom.
You know, one of the things that Wake Forest accomplished with Lucas and Grant Hill, or Lucas and Rusty LaRue playing Grant Hill, Hill never really had a big spurt. He's been consistent, but didn't have a big spurt. He's made 5 of his last 6 field goal attempts since Lucas and LaRue stopped guarding him. So Lucas is back in the game.
Hill.
Okay, that didn't make any difference. He now hits the jump shot.
They'll have to prescribe some other serum against Hill tonight.
And Hill's going to get the foul right there. Latched on to Randolph Childress.
See, we're talking about a much more verbal and vocal Grant Hill. I thought Clark Kellogg had a great line with respect to Hill when he said he used to be high performance, low profile. Now Grant Hill has become high performance, high profile. He's taken the lead with this team on the floor.
He's become like Jim Randall.
Well, we want to talk about performance, maybe profile.
Have to be impressed with the way Grant Hill has done a real fine defensive job against Randolph Childress, and then has contributed 23 points on the offensive end. It's awfully difficult to do so much on the offensive end and then still do the job on the defensive end as well. But Hill has shown you the whole package tonight.
It's a statement for Wake Forest that with all that having been said about Hill, they're only down 4. Game still very much in doubt.
Duncan's got to be careful when he helps on that screen that he doesn't get in the way of Mark Lucas.
A little pick and roll for Parks. Wave it off. Player control foul against Cherokee, his 3rd.
That was good help by Harrison. Again, Wake Forest really didn't play that high screen very well, and if you're going to play against the Duke Blue Devils, you better be able to guard that high screen. But Charlie Harrison bailed him out with a nice defensive play.
Trelawney Owens playing nicely with the 4 foul. Lucas runs away from Clark. Duncan missed Owens. Now forces one. Out of bounds off Wake. Duncan actually missed Trelawney Owens on the other baseline.
Mike Krzyzewski calling out his strategy to his Duke Blue Devils. Once again, Tim Duncan turns away from rather than toward the action, and that's why he missed Owens. Ended up taking a very difficult shot. That's why they let you play 4 years and learn these things as you go on.
Yeah, I'd say after coming over from the islands, Duncan has done a nice job. Harrison will get caught on the reach in. His 3rd. Interesting story
13, Charlie Harrison
on
his 3rd, 9th on the team.
Grant Hill has been bringing the ball up the court a great deal for the Duke Blue Devils, but at this point in the ball game, Mike Krzyzewski turns the chores over to Chris Collins, who uses his body very well to keep Harrison away from the ball and draw the foul.
I was about to mention the story on Duncan. He was actually recruited by Chris King, who along with players on an NBA Goodwill Tour, the incoming draftees, which included Alonzo Mourning, he played for one of the teams on one of those islands, and King actually informed Odom of Duncan. That's how they picked him up. Harrison and Childress getting it done, and this time it's Randolph. Yep, Randolph gets the timeout. 2:29 remaining. Coming down to cases at Cameron Indoor. The fans cheering their Blue Devils up 2 with 2:29 as we reset it for you.
Tim, Grant, we've talked about the Grant Hill-Randolph Childress matchup all night long, and it's been an outstanding matchup all night long. Look at Hill trying to force him down the side. Childress with the reverse dribble gets down the middle, immediately calls the timeout. Duke was trying to force Childress down the side, but he took it to the middle.
There's the trap. Owens with Clark, and it's over and back. It goes to Wake.
Mike Krzyzewski now calling timeout.
Nice work by both Owens and Lucas that time. Trelawney Owens due in large part to that turnover. Coming up next, out to the Pac-10 we go. And proving a point, game in and game out. Jason Kidd leading the nation in assists. He leads Cal into Tucson to face the nation's best guard tandem, Arizona's Khalid Reeves and Damon Stoudemire. Together they combine for more than 40 points per game. All of that coming up as ESPN's coverage of NCAA basketball continues.
I think Mike Krzyzewski, right at the moment, I don't think there's a lot of strategy discussions going on in that huddle. I think this is a time of a basketball game where Mike Krzyzewski's telling his team that they've got to be tough. Toughness is more important than strategy. In a game like this, at this particular time in the basketball game, you have to hold on to the ball.
The one thing we've seen a few runs tonight, Dan, and obviously Mike Krzyzewski's team relies on defense to initiate its offense, but it still takes longer for that offense to get going. As we reset it for you, team fouls. Wake will be into the double bonus, as will Duke shortly. The possession arrow to Duke, and the timeouts remaining. The Blue Devils have 2, Wake down to 1.
Part of the Duke defense has always been the ability to put tremendous pressure on the basketball, and they don't really have the kind of an athlete to do that. And in addition to that, the new dribbling rule, where there's no 5-second closely guarded while dribbling, has eliminated a lot of pressure on the ball if you have a good ball handler.
Childress and Hill. Childress just short. Parks clears.
Parks came for the help. I think Parks actually got a hand on that basketball. Childress blowing right by Grant Hill out on the perimeter. Duke really helping well on defense. Antonio Lang calling for the ball. Trevani Owens matched up against him as 4 fouls. Parks has been quiet in the second half. Where's he throwing that?
Yep. Over and back again. 2 times we've seen the Blue Devils make that error, and that is very rare for a Mike Krzyzewski coach team.
The last thing you want to do if you're a player is make a mistake that your coach has just chewed you out so you won't make it.
But we made the point about those runs and the points off turnovers coming more slowly than the norm. And never has it been more obvious that this is a Duke team with a few more holes, particularly without either an Amaker, a Quinn Snyder, or a Hurley. We've seen that in the last couple of minutes.
It's also not a very deep Duke team. Hasn't been a lot of guys played, particularly in the second half. That's a tough three-point shot right there. That's pretty good defense. That's the kind of toughness that Mike Krzyzewski wanted to see. Now they've got to show that same toughness on this end of the court.
When the game's on the line, Hill has the ball. At the top. Childress gambled.
Well, Clark couldn't make up his mind. Clark, who's played so well tonight, got in there and didn't have the confidence to stick the open jump shot. And as a result, looked for the pass, and then as he was coming down, he just threw the ball up there.
Under a minute left.
Wake's had a couple of chances to tie.
Oh, they run both Lang and Hill at Childress.
10 seconds.
Harrison. Larry Rose spots the foul, as does Lenny Wirtz on Collins.
It is very obvious that Wake Forest feels that they can take advantage of that particular matchup. Just about every time when the clock is run down, they've tried to get the ball in the hands of Charlie Harrison. Harrison, a 72% free throw shooter coming in. There's Chris Collins. Get the idea that Wake Forest feels, as Dave Odom told us before the game, that he has confidence in his backcourt.
Just to put it in perspective, this is a team that's been going with a 3-guard offensive look for some time. And though Grant Hill is the do-it-all player, Wake Forest seemingly has had the answer mano-a-mano in the backcourt.
All right, Tim, there's 39 seconds to go in the basketball game. There's a 4-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock.
And a hand check called against Childress.
Fouls on number 22, Randolph Childress, his second, 10th on the team.
And that's 10 team fouls now on Wake Forest. Childress talking to Lenny Wirtz saying, I didn't really do anything to him. But he got both hands on it. The rule with hand checking is if you keep poking a guy with one hand, or you put one hand on there and don't take it off, or you put 2 hands on, then that's a foul. Watch him get both hands. I guess he got him with the ball. I thought he got him with both hands. Well, Childress not very pleased with that one. So it's a good explanation for the rule, but in the wrong spot.
Duke by 1. Odom trying to steal one on the road.
The shot clock is off. There's 32 seconds left in the basketball game. Dave Odom wants him to get the ball up the court to call.
Marty Clark has had a magnificent game. The youngster from Western Springs, Illinois. The senior has 16. He's going to let him play it out and run a clear out for Childress. a two-pointer. He was inside the arc. We're tied. Hill. No time remaining.
Ball game. The horn has gone off. I heard the buzzer. The ball game's over.
It's over. And we are going. Now they're saying it was a three-pointer.
It was a three-pointer.
We were initially given a two-point signal, and that was a three-point shot. The scoreboard never changed.
Mike Krzyzewski talked to the officials. They ruled it a three-point basket. There's Mike Krzyzewski at the scorer's table. He wants to know what's going on. The referees have left the court. This ball game's over.
Folks, it was ruled initially a two-point shot. And the scoreboard never indicated that it was 69-68 above us or that it was 68-68. The scoreboard continued to show 68-66. Here's the shot.
He steps back beyond the line. That's very clearly a three-point shot. There's no question that that's a three-point shot.
Now let's watch what happens.
Very clearly, that's a three-point shot. Now let's see what kind of a sign you get from the official. What kind of a sign you get from the official? You get no signal.
No signal. It was ruled a two-point shot by the officials.
I think that's why Mike Krzyzewski didn't call a timeout. He thought the game was tied. That's very clearly a three-point shot. See if we can see if any. There's Lenny Wirtz has the three up. Lenny Wirtz gave the signal for the three.
But Larry Rose, who was right behind, there you see.
Let's look right here. Here's Lenny Wirtz right there and up in his right hand. Right there, he's got the three up as the ball goes through the basket. He's got to put the other arm up for the touchdown sign. But that signal right there with the hand up, that means that he's calling that that's a three-point shot.
North Carolina went down last night. Duke tonight on a bizarre three-point shot that only we knew moments after the game was in fact a tray. But Chris, it doesn't matter who signals the tray. Lenny Wirtz at it. For Dan Bonner, Tim Brando, back to Chris.
All right, Tim, thank you. And when the dust settles after a bizarre, confusing finish, another unbeaten has fallen. Now only 4 unbeatens remaining in college basketball, and so much for the Blue Devils as the #1 team in the new poll. What about that as a coach? Maybe Lenny Wirtz had one hand up, but the other 2 officials did not. Krzyzewski clearly confused whether or not his team was behind or tied.
And Lenny Wirtz never completed the signal that the 3 was good. You signaled 3.
Well, he may have later on.
Well, we didn't catch it. But also, the shot clock did not stop. That was another problem that I saw with 2 other seconds ticking off. When that goal was good, the shot clock has to stop the last minute of the game. That would have given Duke another 3 seconds to run a play looking to score. You got to give credit to 2 guys. Childress and Harrison, their penetration, making that penetration bother Duke and Carolina. It looks like it's a weakness against those teams.
And Childress coming off 36 points against Florida State, the hero once again. But Duke killed themselves with those backcourt mistakes late in the game. They're not going to be #1. Who is #1 now with Carolina and Duke dropping?
Yeah, you know, no one talks about Mass. They sneak in. They only got 1 loss, and they beat Carolina, but it'll go to Kansas if Kansas survives this week. But that's college basketball at its best.
Anybody want to be #1 right now?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's too early.